Hello and a very warm welcome back to the channel of nonsense. Behind me is the new Peugeot e-3008. It's an all-new replacement for the 3008. And that's a family SUV I lived with for a couple of months as a company car, and I found it a really nice, charming alternative to a Volkswagen Tiguan. Now, you'll probably be about as surprised as a beaver in a forest to find out this is now all electric, and it can do reasonably big miles, which means it stands a chance of being the new best electric family SUV. In this video, we're going to find out. Also, say it quietly, you can still get this as a hybrid and a plug-in hybrid if you're not ready to go full electric just yet. But anyway, let's get going and find out if it's Trey Bon or more Bon Jovi's haircut. Can't really talk on that front, can I? Let's go. Now, while we're talking about surprised beavers, you probably won't be surprised to find out, like every other car, this is no longer a cheap car. The cheapest way to get the new Peugeot 3008 is to buy in the 1.2 litre hybrid version. That's £35,000 in entry-level Allure trim. I've been told I'm not allowed to say Allure. It's Allure. But anyway, the cheapest electric version in Allure trim is £46,000. This top spec GT model, and there are only Allure and GT models here in the UK, this top spec one in electric form, yeah, it's about a PlayStation 5 short of £50,000. But it could do 325 miles on a charge, and give it a year and there'll be a bigger battery option which can do 425 miles on a charge, which is quite far, isn't it, actually? Things have progressed. Maybe EVs are the future. Are you still watching since I said this is £50,000 for Peugeot? I hope so, because it's actually quite a nice looking thing. Your 50,000 smackaroons get you quite a smartly styled thing with these new slim headlights. They're LEDs on all models. They're pixel LEDs. I nearly said matrix LEDs. Naughty Audi Tim. Pixel LEDs on this version, and they have the claws that extend into the headlights as well when they're turned on. Nice bluff grille here, all the sensory stuff going on. This paintwork is lovely. Normally in Britain I can't show you nice paintwork because it's greyer than the inside of my pants drawer, but actually it's rather nice today. It's got dichromatic pigments in it, so it goes green, it goes blue. It's almost a little bit TVR-ish, hopefully more reliable. Right, I've hopped behind the camera to show the new 3008's cabin. You might think, oh God, more big screens, and yes, there are more big screens, but things are done a little bit differently in here to every other car that I've driven recently. For a start, those up there, normally you would get a 12-inch screen and a 12-inch screen with a little gap in between. Those are actually one continuous screen, except only this half is touch sensitive because they don't want you prodding that. No, not that man. That screen when you're driving. Please don't touch that elderly gentleman when you're driving. You get a small steering wheel. It's Peugeot's iCockpit, but it is a new steering wheel. It's got new controls. Let me zoom in on them for you. You might be able to see they are quite plasticky, but they do move when you press them. So yeah, there isn't haptic feedback, but they do physically move when you press the buttons on that steering wheel, which I think is a big improvement on other people's steering wheels. You've also, excitingly for a Peugeot, is it going to focus? You've got new indicator stalks as well. You still press the ends of them to cycle through displays on the digital driver's display there as well. So you've got various screens, which probably aren't going to work. Oh no, they are going to work. So you can basically show what you want, and you can get the sat nav up there as well, just like that. That worked very well. I was very surprised at that. But yeah, I do like the infotainment system in this because you can put shortcut buttons on here and you can have 10 shortcuts and you can move them around. But yeah, you do have to go in here to change your temperature. So that's a couple of presses, whatever you're doing there. Might as well point out, while we're in here, this one's got the optional, can almost talk, Napa leather seats. They're 1,600 quid, but they are called heated and massage, and you can squeeze the bolsters so you don't fall out your seat when you're going round corners. But yeah, it's good. It's a good system. It's got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and actually all looks really nice when you're using it. Gear selector is there. You've got drive mode selected there, but you're not going to use that very often because sport mode doesn't really make a huge difference in this car. There's a wireless charging mat underneath there. This little bin here is called the media box. And it's a bit finicky opening that. You can see my sunglasses in there, but also 2 USBs. I think that's cooled as well. And there's a 12 volt, a couple of cup holders, and in here you've got a tray for the key or whatever you want to keep in there. The glove box, I'm not going to open it because I can't reach, but it is half width because it's a Stellantis product, and they do that just so I've got something to say about glove boxes in videos, but it's a bit annoying. It's not a full width one. Big door bins down there. I hold a big bottle of water. I just like the cloth. I was a fan of this in the old top spec 3008 because at night this all lights up blue, and you can change the colour, and it looks really, really lovely. Optional panoramic sunroof, doesn't go all the way back. I'm in the back seats obviously. But yeah, nice interior. Highlight of this one, possibly the optional focal sound system. That is part of the £1,200 Sensation pack. It's got 10 speakers, 690 watts, and a subwoofer. And as usual, a journalist before me has whacked the treble and the bass all the way up. So it actually sounded awful when I first got in this. Oh yeah, that pack also includes the sunroof, that Sensation pack. What else can I really tell you? The flappy paddles, they give you 3 levels of brake regen. So you used to have a B button down there on old Peugeots. Now it's done through the flappy paddles. And yeah, that's your lot. Let's have a look at the rest of the car. I'd say the rear seat accommodation in the new 3008 is a mixed bag, to be honest. Look, in terms of headroom, I'm fine unless I lean all the way back and then I do hit my head on the roof. But knee room is okay. That's leather lined because this has got the optional Napa leather seats. Foot room is okay. My feet don't go fully under the seat, but I am 6'3" and that's my driving position. And yeah, the width is okay. You've got a flat floor, so your middle seat passengers aren't too bad off. There's USBs down there and a 12 volt, and this one's got heated rear seats as well. Door bins are nice and big for one big bottle of water. And on your centre armrest, you've got a smartphone holder and 2 cup holders, but I don't think you get them as standard on the entry-level version. I think that is a little bit mean. My other quibble is that the sunroof in this one only comes back to there, so your rear seat passengers don't get to look up and gaze at the stars as you waft along in a Gallic sort of silence before, you know, doing French things, whatever they are. Welcome to ISOFIX cam, because the other annoying thing about the back seats in the Peugeot 3008 are that you've got zips for ISOFIX covers. I find them fiddly and they always feel like they're going to break when you first open them. Just give us plastic clips or just leave them gaping, leave them open. There's more nouveau or new stuff around the side. If you're not very good at French, I failed French GCSE. It is now a coupe SUV. It's got a swooping roofline to make it more aerodynamic. That's because this is an electric first car. It's on a new platform. You don't need to know this, but if you're a nerd, it's on the Stellantis Stella Medium electric platform. Yeah, so it's electric first. They needed to make it more aerodynamic. That's also why it's got this kind of floating rear spoiler for more aerodynamics. What else can I tell you, really? It's 9 centimeters longer than the old 3008, and it is now 4.54 meters long. Comes on 19-inch wheels as standard. This is a GT, so it's got a whopping great 20s. The GT model also gets these little kind of Ferrari-ish, if you squint and punch yourself in the temples, wing badges, and also some black plastic cladding along the bottom, which I've done my darndest to cover in cow poo. Around the back, the 3008 still looks much like a 3008 to me, because it's got these 3 claw lights here. Now, you get a reversing camera as standard, even on entry-level models. That's got a little washer on it as well to keep crud off it, which is a problem I had on my old 3008. And then you get front sensors on the GT model, and you can pay £600 on, I think, any model to have a 360-degree camera. But anyway, let's look in the boot, because the space is exactly the same as in the old 3008. It's 520 litres, so it goes back a reasonable way. It's not that high, though, when you first look at it, but this flips up, and it will actually, I love filming, it always works. I love boots. I just want to film boots. Can I do a channel called Only Boots? Look at that. First time. But yeah, that stays up so you can put your charging cables under there. There's a fair bit of storage under there as well. I should say 520 litres. If you get the upcoming dual motor version, you lose some of that space under there, and it's going to be a 470 litre boot. But yeah, you've got a 12 volt socket here, and the rear seats flip down in a 40-20-40 split as standard. So yeah, it's not bad, but again, because it's sloping, it could have been bigger. They've left some litres on the table. It's unlike the French, especially if it's wine. Now, I want to show you my flaps to talk about the electric capacity of the new E3008. This is the entry-level 73 kilowatt hour battery. I don't know why I did that. It is 73 kilowatt hours. It'll do 326 miles on a charge. Next year, we're going to get the 98 kilowatt hour battery, which can do the 400 and I think 35 miles. I said 425, it's actually 435 miles on a charge. They can all charge it up to 160 kilowatts, so you can get 20 to 80% in about half an hour. In this one, there is a negative to this though, and that is the fact that a heat pump isn't standard. A heat pump can do all your kind of heating, aircon-y stuff without basically knackering your range. 700 quid is an option, and you've got to want it to maximise your range in this car. Flaps. Right, we're going to go for a drive in the new Peugeot E3008. You put your foot on the brake, thumb it back or finger it back into D, and then off you go. And the first thing you notice about driving this car, if you're not used to it, is Peugeot's iCockpit. Having a steering wheel that's about as small as a plate in your hands, you look over it at the big digital screen there. It takes a little while to get used to if you're not used to it, but after a while it starts to make you feel like those dials are more in your eye line, like a head-up display, even though it's not. And it just means you're looking at the road more of the time. So I kind of think it's a good idea. It works better in Peugeot's SUVs than its lower hatchbacks, and in this car it works really quite well. Right, let's take it down some country lanes, because one of the things I've seen people whinge about this car from the international launch is the ride quality. Because it's a heavy car, it's 2.1 tons, it's a bit heavier than some of its rivals, and usually that means on bumpy roads you get jolted about and jarred from the suspension, and it's not great, I'll be honest. I don't think it's half as bad as all the other journalists have been whinging about. Look at this, it's very nice, a bit of wisteria. Performance, in normal mode, it's okay. It doesn't feel especially fast. The accelerator's really been mapped to feel quite soft and quite gentle. And when you put it in sport mode using this little thing here, you see the range drop. It's just dropped from 303 miles to 288. So you do lose a fair bit of your miles when you go in sport mode. And then do you get massive performance? Not really. Foot flat to the floor, you don't get pushed back in your seat. It's not a performance car, it's a family SUV, and I'm quite glad that Peugeot's given it a soft throttle response, because it's just, I don't know, quite a soothing thing to drive, and I just wouldn't bother with sport mode. I would leave it in normal. Now what I do like is the new paddles that they put on the steering wheel. I've always really disliked Peugeot's gear shift paddles because the end of them moved, but the stalk didn't, so it didn't feel like a proper paddle. It felt like a button, really. These, the whole thing moves. They're smaller. Yes, they're still plastic, but that doesn't really bother me in this. They're used for changing the regen of the braking, so you can have basically coasting when you lift off the brake to, yeah, you're going to come to a stop, one pedal driving mode. I like a one pedal driving mode, and this works really well. It just helps you harvest more energy and get better efficiency. Right, I'm back with my efficiency hat on now. You can't see it because it's invisible, much like my hair. I've been getting 2.4 miles per kilowatt hour out of this car, which is not very good. Admittedly, it's a hot day. I've had the aircon on and I'm driving it on lots of hills. I'm driving it pretty gently though. The long-term average on this press car, which has got 700 miles on the clock, is 3 miles per kilowatt hour. Now, if you multiply that by 73, which is the kilowatt hours that are in the battery of this car, you get, well, about 220 miles of real world range. Considering it claims 325, that isn't great. Now, I'm going to caveat all of that by saying when I hopped in this morning, it was on 98% charge, and it was telling me I did actually have 325 miles of range. Normally, when you get in an EV, even on 100%, it's nowhere near what it should be, but this was bang on the money. So yeah, you've got to get 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour out of this to get that 325 mile range. I'm not saying it's not possible, but you'd need to be in a pretty good set of conditions, and I'm nowhere near that today. I just wanted to say, being open and transparent about what I've experienced, but also I'm giving this the benefit of the doubt. Now, we should talk about the boring things like visibility out and all that kind of stuff. The door mirrors are a funny shape. They're kind of like a melted jelly bean. It's been left on the dashboard for too long. Over your shoulder, it's not great, I'm going to be honest. That kind of fastback roof line that Peugeot's given us for better aerodynamics does mean you can't really see out the back corners. There's a whopping great blind spot there. Over the shoulder visibility is fine, but yeah, it's compromised by its design slightly in terms of being able to see out. Right, we're on a slightly faster, twistier road now. So we can talk about the B road handling of the 3008. It does roll quite a lot in the corners, and that's slightly accentuated by the fact the steering is so light and direct. You feel that is designed for parallel parking in between angry Parisians, not hammering down a B road. So it does make it feel not twitchy, it's just direct, and then it steers more than you think, which means yeah, you end up leaning out of your seat a bit. Even with the fancy Napa leather pack with adjustable side bolsters, you can put them on a tight setting though to hold you in place, but I feel like you shouldn't have to do that. So yeah, it's not an exciting car to drive. It's reasonably relaxing. At 70 miles an hour, there's not much wind noise or tyre noise. On a motorway, it's fine, but the ride is probably the weakest bit. It is starting to slightly jar and get on my nerves a little bit. Now, there's one other niggle that I've just had to change my camera for to really show you in the 3008. I've been driving along a reasonably bumpy road, and you probably can't hear me because I've stuck my microphone on the infotainment system to see if you can hear this. I'm just going to shut up and go over some normal bumpy road. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that. The microphone's probably not picking up and you can probably barely hear me. But when you're driving along on a bumpy road, it's a hot day, This whole display screen is creaking, like quite a lot. So you might think, oh, I'm going to have this gentle electric quiet experience, but actually it's just like creaking plastic as you drive along. I don't think that's terribly good, although you can't hear it now because the road is smoothed out, but you have to take my word for it, this creaks. Right, it's time to sum up my thoughts having lived with a Peugeot e-3008 for all of a sunny morning. What do I like about it? Well, I like the looks. I think it looks really, really just nice. I think Peugeot's design language is on a real roll at the moment. And this continues that theme. I think it looks sharp. I think it looks modern. I think that lorry is very, very noisy. You can probably hear that, apologies. But that's carried on inside as well. I love the cabin, I love the ambience, the technology all works really well. Some niggles, the usual things about having to use the touch screens to do the climate controls, and the squeakiness of that dashboard screen over bumps is a little bit annoying. The rear seats are decent, the boot is pretty decent as well. Now, what I don't like about it, I'm going to have to say, the price, £50,000 for this, is pretty salty. The efficiency, I've not seen the efficiency that Peugeot is claiming, but again, it is a very hot day. I've had the aircon on and it's very hilly around here, so probably not the best showcase for it. But also, the ride isn't that good around town or over bumps. It's okay when you get up to speed on motorways. It's not as big a deal as some of the journalists have been making out to be, but just be aware, it's not ironing out all the bumps. Now, obviously, it's got lots of rivals. The Tesla Model Y being the big elephant in the room. They can do similar range, and I think has just got a bit more spaciousness to it. But I don't think it looks half as good as this, frankly. So yes, in the world of electric SUVs, I would say this is up there. Just go into it with your eyes open in terms of the price and the potential that you're not going to get an actual 325 miles out of it. But anyway, if you've liked this video, click bon, give me a wee. Don't do that, no, that's horrible. Go down to the comments, leave me the French word for you're quite sweaty. And subscribe to the channel. Thank you for making it this far. I do appreciate it. My brain has been slightly all over the place today, but I appreciate you sticking with me to the end. Thank you. Au revoir. Toodle bloody pip.